Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jam Vishnupad Paramahams Parivrajakacharya Stotra Srimad is Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nantakoti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikhaho Shri Kṛṣna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasudeva Shri Gopaktavinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mayapur Dham Ki Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Ganga Mai Jamuna Mai Ki Tulsi Maharani Bhakti Devi Ki Ji Gaura Premanandi All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Granga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 1, text number 27. Kaccit kurūṇāṁ paramaḥ suhṛn no kaccit kurūṇāṁ paramaḥ suhṛn no bhāmaḥ sa āste sukham aṅga śauriḥ bhāmaḥ āste sukham aṅga śauriḥ yo vai svasṭṇāṁ pitṛ-vat dadāti yo vai svasṭṇāṁ pitṛ-vat dadāti varān vadānyo vara-tarpaṇena varān vadānyo vara-tarpaṇena kaccit kurūṇāṁ paramaḥ suhṛn no bhāmaḥ āste sukham aṅga śauriḥ yo vai svasṭṇāṁ pitṛ-vat dadāti varān vadānyo vara-tarpaṇena kaccit kurūṇāṁ paramaḥ suhṛn no bhāmaḥ āste sukham aṅga śauriḥ yo vai svasṭṇāṁ pitṛ-vat dadāti varān vadānyo vara-tarpaṇena kaccit kurūṇāṁ paramaḥ suhṛn no bhāmaḥ āste sukham aṅga śauriḥ Yo vai svasṭṇāṁ pitṛ-vat dadāti. Varān vadānyo vara-tarpaṇena. Kaccit kurūṇāṁ paramaḥ suhṛn. āste sukham aṅga śauriḥ. svasṭṇāṁ pitṛ-vat dadāti. varān vadānyo vara-tarpaṇena. kurūṇāṁ paramaḥ suhṛn. Yo vai svasṭṇāṁ pitṛ-vat dadāti. varān vadānyo. Ladies? Kaccit kurūṇāṁ paramaḥ suhṛn. āste sukham aṅga śauriḥ. dadāti. Kaccit kurūṇāṁ paramaḥ suhṛn. sukham aṅga śauriḥ. svasṭṇāṁ pitṛ-vat dadāti. vadānyo vara-tarpaṇena. Nobody else? Kaccit kurūṇāṁ paramaḥ suhṛn. āste sukham aṅga śauriḥ. yo vai svasṭṇāṁ pitṛ-vat dadāti. varān vadānyo vara-tarpaṇena. Kaccit, whether, kurūṇāṁ, of the Kurus, paramaḥ, greatest, suhṛt, well-wisher, na, our, bhāmaḥ, brother-in-law, saha, he, āste, is, sukham, happy, aṅga, O Uddhava, śauriḥ, Vasudeva, yaha, one who, vai, certainly, svasṭṇāṁ, of the sisters, pitṛ-vat, like a father, dadāti, gives, varān, everything desirable, vadānyaḥ, munificent, vara, wife, tarpaṇena, by pleasing. Translation. Please tell me whether the best friend of the Kurus, our brother-in-law, Vasudeva, is doing well. He is very munificent. He is like a father to his sisters, and he is always pleasing to his wives. Please repeat. Please tell me whether the best friend of the Kurus, our brother-in-law Vasudeva, is doing well. He is very munificent. He is like a father to his sisters, and he is always pleasing to his wives. Purport. Lord Krishna's father, Vasudeva, had 16 wives, and one of them, named Pauravī or Rohiṇī, the mother of Baladeva, was the sister of Vidura. Vasudeva, therefore, was the husband of Vidura's sister, and thus they were brothers-in-law. Vasudeva's sister Kunti was the wife of Pandu, Vidura's elder brother, and in that sense also Vasudeva was brother-in-law to Vidura. Kunti was younger than Vasudeva, and it was the duty of the elder brother to treat younger sisters as daughters. Whenever anything was needed by Kunti, it was munificently delivered by Vasudeva, due to his great love for his younger sister. Vasudeva never dissatisfied his wives, and at the same time he supplied the objects desired by his sister. He had special attention for Kunti because she became a widow at an early age. While inquiring about Vasudeva's welfare, Vidura remembered all about him and the family relationship. So this is very interesting, how it's described here that Vasudeva had 16 wives, and where does it say? Vasudeva never dissatisfied his wives. He must have been a great man, isn't it? What a great man. With one wife it's very difficult to keep satisfied, but 16 wives, to keep 16 wives satisfied, what a great challenge. So we can see that this is a situation from a very great culture, that they knew very well how to handle relationships. And it's a culture where relationships count for more than things. Today's culture, the possession of things has overtaken the need, or not the need for, but it's just overwhelmed the aspect of relationship. You know, you can have, like, almost everyone is on Facebook or Instagram or one of these, Twitter or whatever it is, and you can have so many apparent friends on there. I know I have, like, when Facebook first came out, I wasn't really very interested, but then I heard that devotees were using it for preaching, so I thought, okay, maybe I'll try, because I was into building simple houses and things like that, so I thought I could offer one aspect of that. So I went on Facebook, and then it was interesting because I noticed that when you have your own content, you get a lot more interest than when you just repost other people's content. So I had a lot of content, and I got lots of friends on Facebook. And some of those friends were here in Mayapur. But I noticed that when sometimes I might bump into that friend in Mayapur, they would completely ignore me. You know, there was no relationship there whatsoever. So the relationship was simply a textual relationship, but there was no real, actual relationship. So this is what's happening nowadays. You know, we see everywhere. I was just in Spain for a few months, and everywhere you go, people are walking on the Costa del Sol, the Mediterranean, the most beautiful, you know, sea of the Mediterranean, with so many different faces during the times of the day, and they're walking along with their phone in their face, completely missing the whole thing. So this is the current situation. And what's even worse is that we're giving these things to our kids. You know, I don't know if you know, but apparently Steve Jobs refused to give an iPad to his kids because he knew what it would do. Because when you have these devices, they can consume all of your time, and you have these, you can build up what seems like fantastic relationships. I've got 5,000 friends. But actually, if you were to meet any of them in the street, they would probably ignore you. And psychologists have actually done studies, and they've found out that a lot of young people are afraid of actual relationships. They're afraid of having eye contact. Because when you're sitting in front of a screen all day, you don't have to have any reciprocation. There's no need for reciprocation. The reciprocation is textual. But when you're dealing with people, there's eye contact, and people, they get spooked. Young people get spooked by this sudden, having to face somebody and reveal emotions and to try and develop a relationship. It's very difficult. Whereas in the time before these devices, that the only thing you could do was to have relationships with real people in real time and face the consequences of that. A lot of people don't want to face, young people don't want to face the consequences of what it means to interact, which is a very strange phenomena. So, so we can see here in this example, Vasudeva, he's taking care of his 16 wives and also of his sister. He's, going out of his way. So, in Vedic culture, protection of the family is the most important thing. Actually, everything in this material world stems from family. If you have a good, stable family with good education and the children feel loved and needed and they have positive examples to look up to, then when those children become adults, they perpetuate that. And so we can see when we read Bhagavatam, the culture was very elevated in that way because people lived, people respected and understood the value of good relationships and setting good examples. We know that you can see even still here sometimes in India in different parts, the extended family is still operating. In Bengal, if you go to the villages, in the more, higher class villages, they'll have an arrangement of houses in a courtyard. And that house may have you'll have the children, the mother and the father, the grandparents and aunties and uncles will all be living there. And it's a nice arrangement because naturally in life, the parents are the most busy because they are of productive age. They're in their 20s, 30s, 40s. They're the most busy. It's a busy time of their life. They're actually, the parents are the ones that operate society. They grow the food. They do all the work. They're very busy. So, but their grandparents are there, and the grandparents are not so busy. The grandparents are retired. So the grandparents are there for the children. And the children can take a great advantage of the grandparents to learn so many things about Krishna consciousness and about Vedic culture. And aunties and uncles are there to help support the family also. So the joint family system actually was found in much of the world for millennia, especially the Latin countries. Even now in places like Spain and Italy, family is very, very important. Here it is, I think that India is the biggest example of that. But even in the Latin countries, you find that there's a very good understanding of the importance of family. I lived in Spain for several years, and I remember oftentimes going out into the countryside or into small towns, and you'll find there'll be a piazza. In the middle of the town, there'll be a town square. And in that town square, all the young people will be walking around, and all the old people are sitting on benches. And it's a whole kind of social arrangement where relationships are made, where boys find girls for marriage, and it's all done under the supervision of the elders. It's a very nice arrangement. So we can understand that this is very important because, like for instance now, if you look at the West, there are so many misbehaved young people. They're just gone out of control. Rioting, just for the sake of... I went to visit London several years ago, actually about 20 years ago now, if I think about it. And I was going to see a friend I knew in a place called Brixton in London. And I was going on the train, and the train stopped a station before Brixton, and there was an announcement that the train will not go to Brixton because of civil unrest. So I didn't know what that meant, so I got off the train and I had to walk into Brixton to meet my friend. I knew where he lived and I knew which way to go. So I was walking along, I turned the corner, and suddenly, in front of me, there were all these people in a petrol station filling up bottles full of petrol and throwing them at shops. And people were smashing windows of shops, running inside, coming out with boxes full of things, clothes, shoes. I was just like suddenly right in the middle of this huge riot. And it was like unbelievable that people were just going so completely crazy. And I'm walking through, and then suddenly I was surrounded by 6 tall guys, and they started putting all their hands in my pockets and taking everything I had out of my pockets. And, you know, what have you got for us then? And I fortunately had a little bit of street credibility, so I knew how to speak their language. And I said to them, you know, oh man, don't take my last 3 quid. And they were like, okay, okay. And they put everything back in my pockets. But I was like almost completely robbed. And then I came across the police, and the police were all there with their riot shields, and I was behind the lines of the police, and there were some sort of elder citizens with the police listening to what the police were saying on their radios. And then as I was walking away, 2 of these guys were coming and saying, okay, listen, the police are going to go here so we can loot the shops on this street. There was a whole arrangement made to completely undermine society. You know, it was like, so this is what happens when you don't have protective families. When children, like what happens nowadays, and even when I was growing up, I would come home from school at 4 o'clock. My parents wouldn't get home till 6 or 7. So it was up to me. I had the key. I think you call latchkey kids, they call them. Latchkey kids. You got the key to the house. You go in. You get up into all sorts of crazy stuff. And that was back then. Nowadays, so many more people are drug takers. There are families where the parents are taking drugs. The children just grow up to be like animals, practically speaking. So society has really broken down. And but it doesn't have to be like that. We can change it. So we understand that children, they're like a sponge, and whatever they see the adults doing, they absorb that. They don't really necessarily understand it. They don't intellectualize what's going on. They just see an example of a relationship going on, and they absorb that. So when they see parents and other elders acting very nicely, then it becomes what becomes their worldview in the end when they become adults. We all have a worldview. We don't know where we got it from. It's an accumulation of all the things we've experienced and seen and learned and heard throughout our lives that's lent us to a particular worldview. And the way education goes nowadays, when you go to school, you're put into a class full of 5-year-olds. And for your entire school life, you're always with your peers, with the same age group. 5 years old are together, 6-year-olds are together, 7-year-olds are together. And what that does is it maintains a kind of immaturity. You never get to the children don't mature very quickly because they're always with children of the same age and the same mentality. In Vedic culture, in the Gurukul system, the children are of all ages. And they learn, what's happening in the Western schools is because of the need for, what would you say, efficiency, then they just put all the kids together in the same class. And if you didn't make it, then you fail. You either have to stay back or you just get terrible grades. But in the Vedic system, you stay in a class until you've mastered it. And only when you've mastered it, you move up. So that means that the classes will be of varied ages. In the classes, there'll be children of maybe 5 years old or 10 years old. Quite a big variety. And what happens is that because they're all interacting in a social environment with children and adults, they get to mature very quickly. They can have adult conversations. I remember one time in Spain when we'd moved from Mayapur back to Spain, and my son was about 7 or 8 years old, and some devotees came to visit. And they were talking with my son, and they were saying, oh, he's very mature. So because he had been involved with many, he'd grown up in an extended family in Mauritius. We lived in Mauritius for some time, and we had an extended family there. And so he'd grown up with the extended family, with people of all ages. So this is what leads to maturity in children, is when they have exposure to different ages, different cultures, different types of interaction. They also learn how to behave, like it's described that young children should behave very nicely with their brothers, with of the same age. They should be respectful to seniors. And then children of a middle age, they should be kind to the youngsters and accommodate them and help them, and also be kind to seniors. And like this, as you grow older, you have different levels of responsibility, which helps you to be a very compassionate person in your life. Because when you see children, when you were a child, you may have been very sensitive and you may have been having some difficulties with some things. And if an older child comes and helps you with those things, then you feel very grateful for that. And so slowly, slowly, you learn how to be mature and you learn how to take care of others by these examples. This was the whole way the Varnashram also was developed, was that the Dvijas means Brahmins, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. They were the ones that would go to school. And they would learn, just as we know that people have different mentalities. I remember one time going into a shop, I think it was in Tirupati, and there was a young 9-year-old boy behind the counter, and I wanted to buy some cloth. And this boy was very expert in showing me the cloth and making the deal and bargaining and things like this. I was quite surprised. This is obviously a little Vaishya boy. He's grown up in the family business and he knows exactly how to take care of the shop and to take care of the business. Then you get, in the Gurukul system, you get the Brahmins who, they're very simple and they just are eager to learn, eager to absorb knowledge. And then you've got the Kshatriyas who just want to protect the others. They can't stand to see injustice in the playground. If they see a boy bullying another boy, then they'll get on his case. What are you doing this? It's just a natural tendency for a Kshatriya. And then the Vaishyas, they see opportunity everywhere. Wherever there's something, some business possibility, they think, oh yeah, we could do that. That could make some profit. So they all grow up together, learning the same mantras, getting up at the same time of the day, eating the same food. But the mentalities come out. Eventually, it becomes clear that different mentalities become manifest. And then the Kshatriya boy is thinking, I wish I could be more like peaceful and learn the mantras a bit better, like my brother here. He's so good at philosophy. I'm not quite so good at it. So the Kshatriya is feeling, he has some respect for his Brahmin brother. And the Vaishya boy also is, he's seeing the different things. And so they're all growing up and they're seeing their shortcomings and they're understanding this is just what I am, this is who I am. But I love doing this. I wouldn't want to be him. I can't do that. But I love doing what I do. And so in this way, the Varnashram system is actually the best system for bringing out anybody's talents. Whatever ability, whatever possibility you have in your future will come out if you're put into a situation where that's allowed to happen. In the Gurukul system, for instance, over there we have cows, so some boys are interested in taking care of the cows. Other boys are in charge of the kitchen, cooking, making arrangements for festivals and things like that. Others are managing the labor. Some of them are just into Shastra, learning shlokas and doing things like this. So in this way, you get a very well-balanced arrangement that's very nurturing for society. And this is how, in Vedic culture, we find you could have a situation like this, where Vasudeva is never dissatisfied his wives. Yeah, so there are many different cultures have different social arrangements for entertainment. Like for many Western people who grew up in the West, they have a big attachment for Christmas. Like I remember when I was living in the West, whenever December comes around and then you start to see some cold weather and some snow and you see a Christmas tree and you feel all warm and fuzzy inside, because I don't know if any of you have, probably most of you have grown up in devotee families or whatever, but there's this kind of attraction for festivals and things like that. And in Krishna consciousness, of course, we have our own festivals. And for some devotees, sometimes it's a little bit more difficult. Like many Vaishnava festivals include fasting. I know for me, fasting is not the easiest thing. And I often get headaches on festival days. So it's like a negative samskar for me sometimes, it has been in the past. But other people do very well in the festivals. And they're very important for the children especially, because just as I grew up with an attachment for Christmas because of all the attention that you get and the special food and the songs and the different atmosphere, these Krishna conscious festivals that we have are also very important for fixing up an appreciation for Vedic culture and for Krishna consciousness, because they're all part and parcel of Krishna consciousness. I know that sometimes devotees, sometimes they criticize that why you're doing these samskars or these different Vedic festivals, because Prabhupada said that chanting Hare Krishna is enough. All you need to do is chant Hare Krishna. What is all this other stuff, all these Vedic mantras and this and that? What's the need for that? And it's true that Hare Krishna mantra is everything. Sometimes when Prabhupada was speaking about the activities of the devotees, and he was, seeing devotees were falling down and leaving, and he was saying that this is why he was saying that varnashram was important at a certain stage, because he was saying that varnashram is needed to help people be devotees. That so many people are just not acting as devotees; they're acting according to their old habits, and they need to come into varnashram, but into Krishna consciousness through the varnashram system. It's a system which helps to bring people up. Yeah, so the amalgamation of all these different activities, the importance of family, the importance of education, has social arrangements. In the old days, we know the story of Govardhan Puja, and how when Govardhan is crying out, Aniyor, Aniyor, feed me, feed me. So when that happens, the villages all around, for miles and miles around, they come with bullock carts full of grains and ghee and yogurt and fruits, and they just coming, more and more of these arrangements are made. So we can understand that these people had this abundance. Nowadays you have a festival, you go around trying to get a donation, you might get 10 or 15 rupees from somebody, maybe 50 rupees, maybe if you're lucky you might get 500 rupees or something. But in those days they were giving cartloads of ghee and yogurt, simple villagers, farmers. So the situation used to be that in the village, many times, it's still happening now, that the temple is there, and around the temple there is a lot of farmland, and it's all owned by the deity, Gopalji, say. Gopalji is the deity in the temple. He's known as Thakurji, because he's the landowner, and he owns all the land around. And in that area, there'll be so many villages that are on that land. They're like the tenants of Thakurji. And they're producing all the grains, fruits, vegetables, ghee, yogurt, everything. All these things are produced. And because these people are all devotees of Thakurji, of Govindaji, they naturally want to offer it to him. So there'll be big festivals. I remember one time I was living in Udupi, and I was staying in one of the guest houses there. And we were living close by Udupi. We were in a place called Kolor, which is about 40 kilometers away or something. So we were familiar with the culture. And so one day I was in Udupi, and I saw some Brahmins coming into the fields. And there was a big Harinam procession with drums and the Chennai, and they were carrying some flowers and things like this, and they were going into the rice fields. And I was asking, where are they going? They were going out of the town into the rice fields. So they were saying that they were going to bless the rice and the bananas, because in the Udupi temple, they have a big prasad arrangement. Not as big as here, but they still have a pretty big prasad arrangement. And they serve, pongal, rice, on banana leaf plates. So the rice and the bananas are very, very important. So one of the ceremonies they have is to go out into the field and offer oblations and kind of have a little festival to encourage the healthy, good, harvest. So like that, the villagers, the Brahmins will go out and bless the fields, the villagers are producing the food, and everything stays in the village. Nothing goes anywhere. So the grains and ghee are you can store them for many, 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 many years, as they're a great stock of wealth, and then you can trade them for things that you want. You need some furniture, you need some art, whatever it is you want to get. These things have intrinsic value. We all need to eat. What is it Prabhupada said that, who was it, Charvaka Muni, who said, whatever you do, obtain ghee. Was it Charvaka Muni? Yes, whatever you do, obtain ghee. Beg, borrow or steal, but get ghee. You know, I mean, nowadays I think ghee, I mean, I can just go down to the shop and buy something. What's he talking about? Ghee, get ghee. What's the big deal? Why ghee? You know, why not sunflower oil or, I don't know, 7-Up? Why ghee? But actually, ghee, you know, is actually the best thing to, not just the best thing, it's the most healthy thing to cook with. To cook with ghee is the most best thing. All these oils you get nowadays, these seed oils, are not very good for you, actually, many of them. But ghee is very good. And not only that, ghee is medicinal. There are so many medicinal uses for ghee. Many Ayurvedic medicines are mixed with ghee, or you have to have ghee with them. So ghee, rice, and of course, from the milk products, so many amazing things come. I remember Prabhupada was speaking about how you said, you know, you're on your farm, you have some apple, you cook the apple, you mix it with some cream. Oh, it is heavenly. You know, Prabhupada was, you know, this is heaven, right? A good meal, a nice, comfortable place to stay, that's heaven. So nowadays we are all bound up in these cities, and you know, people think, you know, actually there's a little thing I wanted to read from Prabhupada. So Prabhupada was speaking. So Vrindavan is also forest. So create Vrindavan. Keep Kṛṣṇa here, cows here, calves here. Produce your own food. It will become Vrindavan. This is Vrindavan. Where there is Kṛṣṇa, where there are cows, where there is agriculture, that is Vrindavan. See the life of Kṛṣṇa. He advised his father to worship Govardhan Hill. He said, "My dear father, Govardhan Hill is giving grass to our cows. While you are arranging for the demigod worship, Indra. There is Govardhan Puja, so you should produce enough food grains, enough fodder for the cows, and live peacefully. Chant Hare Krishna. Make this life, at least one life we should do like that. It is very happy life." So now, for many people, you know, like, happy life. How is that happy life? You know, going out in the dirt, in the mud, in the heat, or in the rain, and, you know, digging, you know, getting blisters on your hands. What's happy about that? It's miserable. This is the actual modern kind of propaganda, is that farm life, you know, farmers are just dumb, and what they do is just miserable. You know, isn't it? That's basically the kind of picture that people paint, you know, that farmer, you know, in most schools, I remember when I was in school, we had one boy, and he used to speak with a kind of country accent, like the cows are going to come home now, like, you know. And it was like, he's a farmer. You know, farmers are a bit low, like us city folks, we don't talk like the farmers. So people make these jokes about farmers, you know, like they're just kind of dirty people who are not very intelligent, and, you know. But actually, it's the complete opposite. The complete opposite is true. And because we've grown up in warm, comfortable, air-conditioned, heated environments with nice, shiny, wipeable surfaces, that's what we've become used to. And to move out of that is moving out of our comfort zone. But people are doing it. There are people like bankers and businessmen who are so depressed, stuck in this artificial world of just email and media, and driving to work at breakneck speed in your car, competition, people envious of each other, trying to outdo each other. What's it, dog-eat-dog society. Many people are just sick of that. And there are people who have gone out and actually tried to start simple living projects, farms, etc., and they've found such relief because they're working directly with what Kṛṣṇa has given. Kṛṣṇa has given us the land, he's given us seeds, he's given us the sunshine, he's given us the rain. And there's nothing better than actually to plant a seed in the ground and see it grow, and then harvest that vegetable, offer it to Kṛṣṇa, and eat it. It's the most satisfying thing. And you become empowered. because you realize, I can do this. I can actually maintain myself directly. I don't need to go and get a job. You know, farmers nowadays, they're out in their tractors from like 6 in the morning till 6 at night, and then they go to the supermarket and buy their food. You know, it's so contradictory. Because farming now has become agribusiness, where a farmer may be in charge of 7,000 acres of wheat. There's not a vegetable or fruit in sight. Right? It's become completely the opposite of what it should be or what it used to be. But actually, when you get back to real farming, it means, what does it mean? Prabhupada explained it. When I joined in the 70s, every Back to Godhead magazine had some article about Gita Nagari, or New Vrindavan, simple living and high thinking, cow protection. It was because that's what Prabhupada was speaking of in those days. And so that was the focus of everyone. And it was very inspiring to see that. So this is something that actually can start at any time, at any moment. I feel actually, there's one devotee I know in Hawaii. He was really inspired by cow protection, and he went to a slaughterhouse and he saved about 20 cows or something. And then he met a farmer who had some land, and he said, "Can I put these cows on your land?" So then the farmer said, "Yeah," because he wasn't using all that land. So he took these cows, put them on the land, got more cows, and now he has a cow cuddle business. You know, I don't know if you know, but it's very therapeutic to cuddle cows. To have physical contact with cows is very good for the health. And not just the health, emotional health. And people are recognizing this. So he set up this cow cuddle business where people come and cuddle cows for $20. For $20, you can cuddle the cows for as long as you like. You can cuddle them all day if you want. And so he's just a person who's just, you know, he read about Prabhupada and cow protection. He sees cows being slaughtered. He just grabs all of those cows, convinces the farmer to give him some land. And now all these people are coming and writing these reviews about how it's fantastic to be with the cows. I loved it. And he has a big Maha Mantra sign, and he's obviously a devotee. And so these people are coming to cuddle the cows and get this benefit of cow protection. And he just did it because where there's a will, there's a way. Right? If you really want to get out and make a break, you can. You just have to have that determination. And of course, there's one major thing, which is prayer. If Kṛṣṇa sees in your heart, if Kṛṣṇa sees all our desires and whatever we want to do, he's trying to fulfill those desires because that's what this material world is for. He wants us to be happy. He's given us this beautiful world to be happy in. And he wants to fulfill our desires. So if we have a desire to get out of this rat race that we find ourselves in, and we want to go to something better, superior, Kṛṣṇa will see that. And there are so many examples of how devotees who have been in situations that they didn't like, and they prayed to Kṛṣṇa, "Please, Kṛṣṇa, get me out of this. Please help me." Maybe not immediately, maybe not like a miracle out of the dark night, some shiny light comes, but somehow or another arrangements are made, and you can get into a nice situation. So this is it. We all aspire. We're all Kṛṣṇa's devotees. We all love Vrindavan and Mayapur, right? You're all here in Mayapur. So many devotees go to Vrindavan. We love to go to Vrindavan and Mayapur, and we see these places where Kṛṣṇa had these pastimes. So we have to be able to enter into those pastimes, which means that our mentality has to change. We have to get into a simple mentality, appreciate the simple things in life, appreciate the cows, the countryside, growing food, producing everything that you need, because you can do it. It's very possible that we are human beings. We have muscles, we have bodies, we have drive. These things can be done, and that's what we're supposed to be doing, actually. Just doing the bare necessities of what we need to live, and spending the rest of our time worshipping Kṛṣṇa, and praying to Kṛṣṇa, and pleasing Kṛṣṇa, and pleasing Kṛṣṇa's devotees, and developing relationships. Okay, so I'll end there. Any comments or questions? Okay, we'll end the class. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.